ஏஜிஎஸ் என்டர்டெயின்மெண்ட் கல்பாத்திய சகோரம் தயாரிப்பில் வெங்கட் பிரபு இயக்கத்தில் தளபதி விஜய் நடிப்பில் கோட் செப்டம்பர் 5 முதல் உங்கள் திரையரங்குகளில்.
GRT Dwellers.
இப்போ கோட்ல குறிப்பாக வந்து டியூவல் கேரக்டரோட ஷார்ட்ஸ் எல்லாமே இப்போ இருக்கிற டெக்னாலஜியில் என்ன சார் பாசிபிள்?
Like I haven't done இதுக்கு முன்னாடி double action பண்ணல. So I would play one character for one day. Like, you know, for example, if today is Gandhi, let's do it to the Family Man meets Mission Impossible meets Jason Bourne. Okay. So these are the three films which are the biggest reference points. We were shooting in Tunisia, I think was the most difficult. Okay. Maybe it's primarily because of the weather, because we were in the Sahara Desert. Control room basically there are a lot of glasses. There's a lot of glass. Glass in the reflections varum, camera or reflection varum. So whether we have to keep the glass or we have to break the glass. So climax fight sequence was quite challenging because we were shooting with phantom cameras, very high speed, 300 frames, and then like the whole thing was covered with blue matte. I've never seen so much blue matte in my entire life. Color theory, but the yellow is a happy color. Yeah. But it's yellow.
Stage of
yes, exactly.
I was little okay, இன்னும் பெட்டரா பண்ணிருக்கலாமோ அப்படின ஒரு சின்ன ஒரு இது இருந்தது.
Technology also has its own limitations, right? But we tried to push it and like do something with it.
First 5 minutes la Vijaykanth sir oda
again that character
placing that sequence in the very start of the film.
Really appreciate VP sir for pushing the limits.
Yeah.
To think that hey, we should do this. Because I've also worked on Life of Pi in the VFX, visual effects department. Okay. I was on the on-set VFX team. So I think sir had chosen me because of that background. Cinematography is an art, but it's more a craft. It is a craft which needs to be learned.
வணக்கம் நேயர்களே, தளபதி விஜய் அவர்களுடைய கோட் திரைப்படத்தின் சினிமாட்டோகிராஃபர் சித்தார்த்த நுனி சார் தான் நம்ம இப்போ இன்டர்வியூ பண்ணுறதுக்காக வந்திருக்கோம். வணக்கம் சார்.
ஹலோ
சார். நான் உங்களுடைய ஃபில்மோகிராஃபி பார்த்தேன். லூசியா எனக்கு வந்து ரொம்ப பிடிச்ச படம். ஐம் திங்கிங் ஆஃப் டேக்கிங் அ மாஸ்டர் கிளாஸ் வித் யூ அபவுட் சினிமாட்டோகிராஃபி சார். நான் கோட்டும் பார்த்துட்டேன். ஸோ நிறைய விஷயங்கள் எப்படி பண்ணீங்கன்னு தெரிஞ்சுக்கணுங்கிற ஆவலோட வந்திருக்கேன். குறிப்பாக பவன்குமார் சாரோட 2 படங்கள் பண்ணியிருக்கீங்க, லூசியா அண்ட் யூட்டர்ன். 2 படமே
I did Lucia. U-turn வந்து I just worked on for 1 week.
1 week. ஓகே. 2-3 கேமரா மேன் அதில் ஒர்க் பண்ண மாதிரி நான் பார்த்தேன். ஸோ யூ ஆர் சூஸிங் ப்ராஜெக்ட்ஸ் ரொம்ப பொறுமையாக பண்ணுற ஒரு சினிமாட்டோகிராஃபராக இருக்கிறீங்க. ஸோ தமிழில் 3 படங்கள் பேக் டு பேக், வெந்து தனிந்து காடு, கேப்டன் மில்லர், அதுக்கப்புறம் கோட். ஸோ இப்போ கோட்டில் குறிப்பாக வந்து எனக்கு லேர்ன் பண்ணிக்கிறதுக்கு நிறைய என்ன இருந்துச்சுன்னா, டியூவல் கேரக்டரோட ஷார்ட்ஸ் எல்லாமே எப்படி கம்போஸ் பண்ணீங்க அப்படிங்கிற ஒரு விஷயம் வந்து ஆரம்பத்துலேருந்தே த்ரூ அவுட்டாக ஒரு பிரமிப்பாக இருந்தது. ஸோ அதை பற்றி ஆரம்பிக்கலாமா? ஒரு 2 கேரக்டரை வந்து பிளேஸ் பண்ணுறது, ஒரு ஸ்க்ரீனில் கொண்டு வரதுல கேள்விப்பட்ட வரைக்கும் லைன்ஸ் யூஸ் பண்ணுவாங்க, மாஸ்கிங் பண்ணுவாங்க ஃபில்ம்ஸில் அப்படின்லாம் வந்து கேள்விப்பட்டிருக்கேன். இப்போ இருக்கிற டெக்னாலஜியில் என்ன சார் பாசிபிள்?
So there are multiple ways that we can do this. So basically it was an exploration for even me. Like I haven't done இதுக்கு முன்னாடி double action பண்ணல. But good thing என்னன்னா we can learn on the go when we are in the time la vandu we have a lot of avenues to learn how to do things. Like, you know, by watching films, by reading interviews, by reading articles about, you know, the process, and of course the peer group, like, you know, the technical team of the film, we all come together and we understand that okay, how do we shoot this? It was an exploration. Like the traditional way is to obviously break the frame into and all of that, but we also have other techniques. Like we used motion control rigs. Frame, keeping the frame static is a very old fashioned way of doing things, but now things are moved where basically we have to repeat the same action in the same time, and then the same movement kuda same aayirukano. So we can program the device, the what we call the mocobot or the motion control rigs and solla. So it repeats the action how many ever times that you want. You can do the same action in the same duration also. So if you want to, you take a motion shot with a double action. First we keep one character, we do the movement, we rehearse it obviously firstly with the DOP. If we are the double action, if the camera has to come from your suggestion to my suggestion, so camera starts from there and then moves, you know, to the way to behind me. To replicate is the biggest challenge. We can do it even with the track and trolley. Ana adula problem enna, we won't have the freedom to, we don't have the option to repeat it in the similar time and space.
Yes.
That is basically
it's
time
manual,
and space. Yeah, it's manual. So that is the process. So first we do it with one character and the double stunt double irpanga, or the whichever double irpanga.
Okay.
So we rehearse it with the double, we frame it properly, and then we take out the double, and we probably keep a C stand or like something for the look kaga, so for the eye look kaga, and then we repeat we can repeat the action how many ever times that we want. If we have multiple characters, we can do it 3 triple action, 4 characters also, it's fine. So that is one way to do it. Another way to do it is, if you want to keep the action very intimate, for example, the climax sequence la vandu, it was a very intimate action sequence. Adula we used multiple techniques. So first thing is the mokobot, where first thing is like you're repeating the action, like and the second thing is we use very long lenses, like very compact lenses. So appo the action is where we're just keeping this one of the character in a very blurry, out of focus phase la vechittu, we keep the other, we keep the other character in focus and all of that. Another problem there is that the frame is very limited.
Yes.
Movement vandu romba, and also the operation has to be perfect.
Okay.
Especially because it's a stunt sequence and all of that. So we use multiple techniques to do this. Yeah.
இப்போ நான் அதுல இருந்து தெரிஞ்சுக்கிட்ட 2 விஷயம் நீங்க சொன்னதுல இருந்து மோகபாட் ஒன்று இப்போ இருக்கிற டெக்னாலஜிக்கு ரொம்ப ஹெல்ப்ஃபுல்லா இருக்கு, அண்ட் ஆப்வியஸ்லி தி லென்சிங், அதோட உங்களுடைய எக்ஸ்போஷர், உங்களோட எக்ஸ்பீரியன்ஸ் எல்லாமே இட் மேட்டர்ஸ். ஸோ மோகபாட்டில் நான் ரீசெண்ட் டைம்ஸில் நிறைய பேர் அப்ரிஷியேட் பண்ணி பார்த்த ஒரு படம்னு பார்த்தீங்கன்னா, இங்கே ஸ்டண்ட் சீக்வன்ஸில் விக்ரம் மூவி வந்து கமல் சாருடைய அந்த ஒரு ஷாட் வந்து ரொம்ப பேசப்பட்டது. ஸோ அதுக்கப்புறம் இப்போ கோட்டில் வந்து எனக்கு அந்த இன்டர்வல் அந்த செக்மெண்ட்டுக்கு முன்னாடி ஒரு மெட்ரோ ட்ரெயின் செக்மெண்ட் வந்து பயங்கரமாக இருந்துச்சு. குறிப்பாக பைக் மெட்ரோக்குள்ளே வர்றது வந்து ரொம்ப சாதாரணமாக இப்படி பண்ணாங்க அப்படின்ற மாதிரி இருந்தது. ஏன்னா ஒரு பைக்கை உள்ளே எடுத்துகிட்டு வரதே பெரிய கஷ்டம், அதை கேமராவில் ஃபாலோ பண்ணி அது உள்ளே வருது, ட்ரெயின் உள்ளே, அதுவும் சப்வே உள்ளே அந்த கண்ணாடி உடைச்சிட்டு அவ்வளோ விஷயங்கள் வந்து அது பண்ணியிருந்தீங்க. ஸோ அந்த பர்டிகுலர் சீக்வன்ஸ்க்கு என்ன மாதிரி ப்ரிப்பரேஷன் இருந்தது?
So that's the thing. In the segment one, we had like a lot of action sequences. Like Goat had it's an international espionage thriller madri da na treat panna. Basically, one of my biggest references was Mission Impossible, and also Bourne series. So I'm a big fan of the Bourne series and the Mission Impossible series. So one of my biggest references in terms of like camera movement or lighting, or like if you look at if you watch Goat, like camera is always moving. அது ஒரு intimate move பண்றோம், where the character is, the subject is, the camera is moving with the subject. That way it becomes a very intimate experience for the audience. So we're not keeping the camera in, like some scenes obviously we shot it the classic framing way because of the mood. For example, the scene where Prashant sir and Vijay sir are sitting in the park in Russia, அது ஒரு intimate ஆன sequence. அதில் very subtle camera movements. So each scene we treated it the way it is supposed to be, how we wanted to treat the sequence to be like. Whereas if you go to the action sequences, it was completely handheld and like very raw and edgy kind of treatment. And the biggest thing is that the set pieces needed to be treated very carefully, because the camera is moving from one place to the other rapidly. The camera starts from outside the metro station, and then it comes through the stairs and through the corridor. Adukapro it goes into the train. So we had to break it down, and obviously we had to understand there are constraints. We can't shoot in the real metro, permission varadu, right? Underground. In fact, we were supposed to shoot it in Russia. Anga permission kadachadu, and last moment we couldn't shoot it there. So we actually the sets were created. Yeah. So set extensions and like the lighting adukku etha madiri pananum to emulate the reality, like to keep it very real. So I had to really commend the CG department to have executed such a I think the interval sequence has come out really beautifully. Yeah. So it's like mixed reality and so on. Basically some sequences were shot on the actual in the metro. Some sequences were shot in the set, like the full action sequence with the blue mat vechittu or coach. We had the coach was there, and the exterior was all blue mat. So and we have to simulate the lighting for that. So it was like a very exciting experience.
டீடைலிங் ரொம்ப நல்லா இருந்தது. அதில் வந்து அந்த மெட்ரோவில் ஒரு ஷாட்டில் விஜய் சார் நிற்பார், பின்னாடி அந்த மெட்ரோவோட அடுத்த கம்பார்ட்மெண்ட் மூவ் ஆகும். அதெல்லாம் வந்து இட் வாஸ் வெரி ரியல். ஏன்னா
But that is we shot in the real metro.
ரியல் மெட்ரோ அது தெரிஞ்சது. இட் வாஸ்
We
ஆப்வியஸ்லி
shot
விசிபிள்.
in the metro for like 2 nights, if I'm not wrong.
Okay.
2 nights, and the metro station on the 2 nights.
Okay.
And we had permission only to shoot from 1 o'clock in the night to 4 a.m.
Okay.
And the 3 hours window da namakku and metro irundadu. So those nights were very stressful because all of us would come to the metro station by like 11 o'clock. And by the time we got the metro in hand, it was like 1 o'clock. Okay. And we just we had taken that shot, and I really, one of my favorite shots.
Great, sir. And ரெக்கி எல்லாம் வந்து இந்த மாதிரி விஷயத்துக்கு you used to go to research and kind of
there's a lot of researches which is involved in these things.
Okay.
Because we are also, it's something that hasn't been done, too much in this. Also, I come from a documentary background.
Yeah.
So I like to keep things very real. Like even if you look at the lighting or like, the mood. Mood is very important. So on the mood creation kaga, like style is obviously there. We can stylize it, but also you have to create the realism of the moment so that the audience is more engrossed. Audience believes that it's happening.
It's happening.
On the real time. Yeah.
கண்டிப்பாக சார். குறிப்பாக நான் ஏன் அந்த மெட்ரோவில் இன்னும் ஸ்டெக் ஆகியிருக்கேன்னா, எனக்கு அவ்வளோ விஷயங்கள் அதில் வந்து கேட்டுகிட்டே இருக்கணும்னு இருக்கு. அந்த அண்டர் கிரவுண்ட் விஷயம் இருந்ததில்ல சார், அது உண்மையிலே நீங்கள் போய் பார்த்தீங்களா மெட்ரோவில் இப்படி தான் இருக்கா? ஒரு கிளாஸை உடைச்சிட்டு உள்ளே வந்து அந்த ட்ராப்பில் வந்து பைக் ஓட்ட முடியுமா? இஸ் இட் பாசிபிள்? பிகாஸ் வி டோன்ட் நோ. நாங்கள் அண்டர் கிரவுண்டில் ட்ரெயினில் தான் போயிருக்கோம். நீங்கள் ட்ரெயினுக்கு வெளியிலேருந்து பார்த்துருக்கீங்களா? யூ காட் பெர்மிஷன் அண்ட் விசிட்டட் தி பிளேஸ்?
See, definitely, if you there's this the recent Bond films, Skyfall also has a metro sequence.
Okay.
Where like Bond is in the metro tunnel. So also references.
Okay.
So we do a lot of referencing that way. How did they do things? For example, when you if you look at the opening sequence of the film, which happens it's supposed to happen in Kenya. So when you look at the location, immediately my mind went to the recent Bond film. The last one, where the hero, Bond and the heroine come and stop in the middle of a desert, and then they're taken into like the villain's lair and all of that.
Yeah.
So actually we shot that sequence in Tunisia. Tunisia is next to Morocco.
Okay.
So Morocco was where Bond was shot. But because they were already tuned to Hollywood, the prices were obviously exorbitant. But so it was easier to shoot in Tunisia. So we actually shot in the Sahara Desert, like the opening sequence. The 2 days we had shot in Tunisia. So that's also, you obviously look for who has done this before. What are my references, right?
But at the same time, you have to do something different from what
absolutely.
is being done.
I mean, what is the story?
Yeah.
We are doing something according to the story, right?
Okay.
But if you look at it like, we are keeping it as a thriller, international thriller. So you kind of look for what have people done before? And then what can we do? How do you take reference from that? Yes. Right? And then you take the references, the mood, and how does the environment look like? What have they done with the lighting? What have they done with the space? What time did they shoot? In the Mari Vishalala, we can learn. And then we can take it up. Then you take it ahead with what you've learned. Yeah.
Okay, sir.
So like for example, for the metro sequence, obviously you have a certain idea. Ulla eppadi irukum. And also you are also imagining how do you visualize it? See, you take the reference, but it need not exactly be that way. You have to make sure that you understand your vision has to come through as well.
Okay.
How do you look at it?
டெஃபினெட்லி சார். அண்ட் கமிங் டு வெங்கட் பிரபு சார், அவர் இதுக்கு முன்னாடி மாநாடுன்னு பயங்கரமாக ஒரு லூப் ஃபிலிம் பண்ணியிருக்காரு. அதுவும் வந்து டெக்னிக்கலி ரொம்ப ஸ்ட்ராங்கான ஒரு ஃபிலிம். ஸோ அங்கேருந்து உங்களை வந்து சூஸ் பண்ணி உங்களோட ட்ராவல் பண்ணணும் அப்படிங்கிற அந்த ஐடியாவுக்கு அவர் வரும்போது உங்களோட இன்ட்ராக்ஷன் எப்படி இருந்தது? இந்த கதையை உங்கள்கிட்ட நரேட் பண்ணும்போது ஹவு யூ ஃபெல்ட் அண்ட் வாட் வாஸ் தி வே ஹி எக்ஸ்பிளைன்ட்?
I think like I had a generic idea of what the film is about. Like there is it's more of a father and son film. That's the whole crux of the film is that. And obviously it also has a lot of VFX involved. So because I've also worked on Life of Pi in the VFX department, in the visual effects department. Okay. I was on the on-set VFX team. So I think so had chosen me because of that background, like and when he narrated it, obviously I was excited. And I feel that as a cinematographer, you need to also bring alive the subject, bring alive the story. How do you visualize it? Because if you do the same thing again and again, you're stuck in the same. So somewhere I feel that I want to learn every day. Because when you learn is when you grow. So every film you have to, for example, one of my biggest inspirations is Roger Deakins. Okay. So if you look at Roger Deakins' filmography, he's done multiple genres of films. Revolutionary Road, which is a family, a couple's drama, which is shot like a thriller if you look at it. And then there is Sicario, which is one of my biggest, I can watch Sicario any day and just be inspired by it. And then there's 1917, which is a war drama. So how do you, it's about how do, as a cinematographer, it's a world building, right? How do you visualize it? How, along with the vision of the director. So there's always that give and take. There's always that understanding. Okay, what is the visual grammar of the film? How do you look at it? How do you want to, see this world? So when the film came to me, it was a big responsibility also because it's a Vijay sir's film. Like, the scale is big, and there's also this, he's a everybody loves him, right? Yeah. There's a certain kind of filmography that he has had. So in that, how do we break away and do something different? Right? We don't want to do the same thing again. So when it came to me, one of my biggest things, how do I present this film? How do I present this film with Vijay sir in it, right? And so it was like, okay, we decided the songs and everything, we'll stage it in a very, glamorous and beautiful kind of way, which is what the Whistle Podu is and Spark song is, which are very,
fans' expectations.
Yeah. But also in your own space. Okay. The lighting and all is what you have. And then there is the character of Gandhi. We have to look like, I wanted the audience to feel the relatability of the character of, what he's playing. So we wanted to treat like very family man. Family man is one of the references. So we wanted to keep it very simple. But once the action starts, it becomes very stylized. Because that demands that, right? So if you look at the graph, if we discuss this and we came up with the thing that, okay, let's do it in a Family Man meets Mission Impossible meets Jason Bourne. Okay. So these are the three films which are the biggest reference points.
Yes, that's what I was asking. Because the discussion between you and Venkat Prabhu sir could have been like this.
Yes.
I thought
that's a discussion.
Yeah, more than 40 minutes of the film was entirely staged on family.
Yes.
First
the beginning part of it. So the beginning part, the Thailand portions and all, very natural, very realistic shoot panno. Like we just went on the streets and just shot with sir, and he was also so sporty and like, he really, I think he really enjoyed it.
When you're telling about James Bond references, I was enjoying the portions where family audience were laughing at the ஒரு ஷாட்ல வந்து விஜய் வந்து தொங்கிட்டு இருப்பாரு அந்த கிளாஸோட அப்ப கால் வரும் அந்த சுகர்.
So unless if you treat those scenes very glamorously, you can a relatability போய்டும். We want the character to be real.
Fun is also
exactly working out. The fun works out when it's real, right? When the audience is like, hey, this can happen. And the மாதிரி தான் we try to treat it.
Definitely sir. So pre-productionல நீங்க என்ன மாதிரி விஷயங்கள் சார் ரொம்ப ஸ்ட்ரிக்ட்டா ஃபாலோ பண்ணுவீங்க? லைக் ஸ்டோரி போர்ட்ஸ் இந்த மாதிரி படத்துக்கு ஒரு டபுள் ஆக்ஷன் ஃபிலிம்க்கு ஸ்டோரி போர்ட்ஸ் எவ்வளோ இம்பார்ட்டன்ட், அந்த ஒரு nuances பற்றி சொல்லலாமா?
So that's what I do, a lot of referencing before once I get onto the film. I give a good time for just sitting down, me and my team, we sit across the table, we discuss with the director, understand what the story is about, what is the progression, and like, first thing is we start referencing films.
Fine.
இந்த மாதிரி படங்கள் எல்லாம் இந்த zone-ல இருக்கு. And then how do we take ahead from that? And then the second thing is the color palette and the camera movement, and obviously the staging. How are we staging the scenes? Are we doing a handheld kind of work? Are we doing a very smooth kind of movements? So these are all decided before the shoot begins itself. And also you leave the room for improvisation once the shoot starts, which always happens. So there's a lot of planning that goes into it.
Okay. More than a double action film, it is a multi-starrer film. Like Prabhudeva sir ஒரு சைடு இருக்காரு, பிரசாந்த் சார் இருக்காரு, விஜய் சார் இருக்காரு. அவங்க மூணு பேருக்கும் நிறைய செக்மெண்ட்ல வந்து சிங்கிள் ஃப்ரேம்ல மூணு பேரை காட்டுறீங்க. ஸோ அந்த விஷயம் வந்து ஒருத்தரை வந்து பின்னாடி வச்சு அந்த மாதிரி இல்லாம மூணு பேரும் ஈக்குவலாக காட்டக்கூடிய விஷயம் வந்து எப்படி கேமரால எப்படி வந்து நீங்க வந்து பிளான் பண்ணீங்க?
I like it's a very Akira Kurosawa film staging. where multiple characters are staged in a wide shot.
Okay.
If you remember in the, before the, before Vijay goes to Moscow, there's a scene or there's a party happening and
Yes.
there's all of these characters. All the important characters of the film are standing together and there's a conversation that goes on. So that whole thing was shot wide lenses with framing all of them in it.
Okay.
Just at one point, the camera moves into Jairam sir and Vijay sir. Because that's a grammar, that you're trying to establish the camaraderie between the whole group.
Okay.
Right? Not making, and because all of them are important at that stage. Because that's where things kind of take off in the film, in a way. So subliminally, you're thinking about the story because the camera is telling the story.
Yeah.
Right? It's not just, camera is a tool where you're kind of like telling the story in a very subconscious way. So when I was doing my master's in Europe in cinematography, one of the primary exercises was that every semester I had to shoot a film and direct a film, right? Adula vandu the thing was we had to shoot a film for 3 minutes long without any dialogue. 3 minutes long scene or a film without any dialogue.
Okay. Single shot film?
Not single shot. Okay. It could be 3 minutes. It's just the duration is 3 minutes.
Okay.
But you have to tell the story in 3 minutes with zero dialogue.
That's a task for cinematographer.
Yes. So that was what I was given marks based on. Yeah. Marks were given based on.
So more than the technical aspects, you need to understand the story.
Understand the story. Yeah. So the camera is telling your story without dialogue. So I feel the cinematography wins when you're able to understand what is going on if you even mute the dialogue.
Okay.
Right? It's so the way you stage the frame, the way you know, for example, in the interrogation scene, right? Between in the towards the end of the film.
Jeevan and
there's this extreme close-ups of Prashant sir.
Yeah.
Right? It's one of my favorite frames, like because all the 3 characters are there, and like there's Jeevan and there's Prashant sir and Pinadi Gandhi. So all 3 of them are there, but it's a very tight lens.
Okay.
So it's like a compression of space. It's like a clash of something. It's creating the mood that something serious is going to happen.
Okay.
So and the madri. So it happens spontaneously, more or less. You understand. Okay, this requires this lensing.
Okay.
If you treat it in a wide lens, it kind of dilutes the moment.
Yeah. And
right?
the tension.
And the tension. Yeah. So it's about telling the story with the lens.
Yeah.
With the camera movement. So in the stage, in the madri, how do we treat this? So it's always a discussion between the director and the cinematographer, and we kind of like understand. Okay, in the scene one, we'll go with this kind of staging. We won't let the camera move. Or like, we'll use a wide lens or we will use a tight lens. So this is the way we kind of break down the scene. Yeah.
சார் நிறைய இன்ட்ரெஸ்டிங் மொமெண்ட்ஸ் இருந்தது சார், கேமரா சைட்லையும் சரி ஃபில்மாவும் சரி நிறைய வாவ் மொமெண்ட்ஸ் இருந்தது இந்த படத்தில். விச் வாஸ் தி மோஸ்ட் டிஃபிகல்ட் ஷாட் இந்த கோட்டில்?
I think towards the end when we were shooting in Tunisia, I think was the most difficult time. Not maybe it's primarily because the weather, because we were in the Sahara Desert.
The first sequence.
But we shot for 2 days in Tunisia.
Okay.
So that was quite tough because we had to get used to the weather very quickly and shoot also. But creatively, if you ask, the second thing is the climax portion.
Okay.
Climax one, it happens on the rooftop, right, of the stadium.
Okay.
But we didn't have a stadium around us. We shot the whole thing in blue mat.
Okay.
So to imagine what is beyond. So I think the CG portions were the most challenging. Or the control room also. Control room, basically there are a lot of glasses. There is a lot of glass. Glass in the reflections varum. Camera or reflection varum. So whether we have to keep the glass or we have to break the glass. So initially, we had like the glass was set up, and then we decided, okay, this will not work out, so please take out the glass, and then we had to shoot with it. So a lot of improvisation happened on an everyday basis.
Okay. In the Chepauk Stadium.
Chepauk, the whole set. We had like even Chepauk Stadium. We shot the control room was all shot in the set, and then the rooftop was shot in the set, and then we also integrated it with Trivandrum Cricket Stadium and Chepauk Stadium. Okay. So it was like you had to break the sequences down. Okay. And the sequence enga pandrom. So this kind of planning. But the climax fight sequence was quite challenging because we were shooting with phantom cameras, very high speed, 300 frames. And then like the whole thing was covered with blue mat. I've never seen so much blue mat in my entire life. And I was quite worried. I'm like, okay, how is this going to, but that's the thing, you have to imagine. Like, I think I've never shot so much extensive CG. And this was quite challenging, but also fun.
Yeah.
Because to imagine what is going to be beyond and then create the mood in the scene. So I think that was fun. Yeah, beautiful.
Great, sir.
And challenging at the same time.
Yeah, to be in particular, அந்த சேப்பாக் ஸ்டேடியம் அந்த போர்ஷனில் பயங்கர சர்ப்ரைஸான மூமெண்ட் எங்களுக்கு எதுவாக இருந்ததுன்னா, இந்த ரூம்ல இருந்து கண்ட்ரோல் ரூம்ல இருந்து அந்த ரூம் ஓப்பன் அது யாருமே எக்ஸ்பெக்ட் பண்ணவே இல்லை. ஸோ அந்த நீங்கள் சொல்கிற அந்த கிளாஸ் எல்லாமே பெரிய எப்படி எடுத்திருப்பாங்க அப்படின்ற ஒரு சர்ப்ரைஸ் இருந்துகிட்டே இருந்தது. ட்ரெயின் கிராஸ் ஆகிற மாதிரி ஒரு ஷாட் இருக்கும். ஸோ இட் வாஸ் கம்ப்ளீட்டாக அந்த ஸ்டேடியம்.
So that's what it's like a beautiful thing, because we have the CG department, we have the art department, we have the camera department, we have the stunt department. Each team was working together to create this reality. And I think
it worked well.
Because it worked.
அந்த ஒரு ஸ்டேடியமோட ஆம்பியன்ஸே மேட்சை காட்டாம ஒரு ஸ்டேடியம் வந்து எப்படி காட்டுறதுங்கிறது பெரிய யூ அச்சீவ்ட் a great thing அப்படின்னு தான் நான் நினைக்கிறேன். ஏன்னா ஒரு ரியல் ஸ்டேடியம்ல இருக்கிற ஃபீல் வந்து த்ரூ அவுட் அந்த எல்லா செக்மெண்ட்லயும் கவர் ஆயிட்டே வந்து
wanted to be felt real time. Like I wanted the audience to feel that they were there. Like no point I want them to idu it's not happening. Just to be very immersive. And the biggest challenge was the climax fight la vandu, again it's one-on-one fight. So we had to shoot with long lenses, like I said. So the action one we were shooting in long lenses. One operator was on 125mm lens and the other one was an 85mm lens. And it was but it was fun. I think we managed to do.
And one more interesting moment was அந்த ஒரு ட்ரெய்லர்லயே வர்ற அந்த ஒரு ஷாட், ரெண்டு விஜய் ஒரே பைக்ல மாஸ்கோ நினைக்கிறேன். ஸோ அது வந்து எப்படி சார் அதுக்கான பிளானிங் எப்படி இருந்ததுன்னு சொல்ல முடியும்?
So that's what we shot that sequence, I think for 4 days, if I'm not wrong. And Vijay sir was riding the bike. So there we use face replacement technology. Like 2 days if sir had played Gandhi's role, the other 2 days would be Jeevan's role. So I was in the Russian arm. It's like a jimmy jib which is mounted on a car. So it's like it's a jimmy jib, just that suppose say the bike is going in this direction, we are in the jimmy jib is facing the bike and the stunt driver is driving the car in the front, and the road was almost like 15 feet long with cars parked on the side. So we literally had like edge to edge evladha. And it was like, it was a quite risky sequence, but we had like stunt drivers who were driving and I was sitting inside the car with the monitor on, and then the operator of the camera had to frame catch the frame of which is a riding and like all of that. It was an exhilarating experience. So there was obviously a lot of planning involved in this, how we're going to execute it. So we shot a lot of the stunts were shot, not everything was pretty much shot real time.
விஜய் சார் வந்து ஒரு ரோலில் வருவாரா 2 ரோலில் வருவாரான்றதை தாண்டி அந்த படத்தோட ப்ரொமோஷன் கேம்பெயின்லாம் வந்து லாஸ்ட் டேலாம் எப்படி இருந்ததுன்னா, அந்த ஒரு பைக் ஷாட்டில் பின்னாடி இருக்கிற ஃபேஸை வந்து தன்னோட ஃபேஸாக ஏஐயில் மாற்றி எல்லாரும் ஷேர் பண்ணிட்டு இருந்தாங்க. பீப்புள் யூஸ் டு ஷேர். ஸோ அந்த எக்ஸைட்மெண்ட் வந்து டிஏஜிங்கில் படம் ஃபுல்லாக நீங்கள் பார்த்துருக்கீங்க. ஸோ எந்த கேரக்டர் வந்து உங்களுக்கு நான் ரிவீல் பண்ணல, எத்தனை விஜய்ன்னு நான் ரிவீல் பண்ணல, பட் எந்த கேரக்டர் உங்களுக்கு வந்து ரொம்ப பிடிச்சிருந்தது?
I think Gandhi's character had a lot of grace. I think the way sir had played Gandhi was quite amazing. And at the same time, Jeevan's character also had the extreme opposite way of looking at things. I loved how sir had made a complete 2 different characters. And the beauty of it is that sir would play one character for one day. Like, for example, if today is Gandhi, he would play only Gandhi. Today, tomorrow is Jeevan, it will only be Jeevan.
To be in that mood.
So throughout the day, he's only thinking in that zone and like what to do and how to improvise and all of that stuff. So one of the most exciting sequences is the Kishkinda Park sequence. Adula vandu his character just goes wild. I think Jeevan's character kind of goes wild, and shooting that was such a beautiful experience because the sequence வந்து ஒரு வைல்டான கிரேசியான லைக் யூனோ ஒரு what do you say,
சைக்கோ
கொஞ்சம் அந்த கொஞ்சம் வெரி எக்ஸ்ட்ரீம் நெகட்டிவ்ஸ் கேரக்டர் ஜோனில் போயிடும். பட் so when we were looking for locations, we kind of like we realized that they took us to Kishkinta, which was like a broken down theme park, right? And then we just found this place and like, this is the perfect place for it, because and it's actually a very fun place, supposed to be a fun place, but it's broken, right? And so I think it's kind of represents the characters, and like generally what could have been done also was that shoot it very ஒரு serious-ஆன mood lighting-ல we can do that. But we went the opposite way. I went the opposite way, where I lit it up nicely, brightly, and also the colors, the yellow, color theory, but the yellow is a happy color. So it's like a it's like, but it's yellow
stage of
yes, exactly. So to create that confusion,
என்ன பண்ண போறான்,
yes, exactly. So it was like a and I think it was like a dance, like what sir would do, say, like, I'll do this, what can we do, what do we do? So it's like I was sitting in the round and the merry-go-round, and I would keep the camera, and Meenakshi was sitting in front of me, and the merry-go-round was just spun, and after a few seconds when it stopped, my head would start spinning. Because I was like just doing handheld, right? And so would come to me, it's like, bro, are you okay? And so it's like, so it was so much fun to shoot the scenes actually, and it was very improvisational.
So coming to character design, இந்த படத்தில் மட்டும் இல்லை, ஜென்ரலாகவே ஒரு சினிமாட்டோகிராஃபராக உங்களோட படங்களில் ஒரு கேரக்டர் டிசைனுக்கு எந்த அளவுக்கு ஒர்க் பண்ணுவீங்க?
So I can tell you about Goat for sure. Like in that, when I got into the film, I realized that there is the protagonist had a 23-year-old character and the 50-year-old character, Gandhi and Jeevan. இப்போ Jeevan is 23 years old, right? Now, and considering that Vijay sir is such a big star, and people know him, people have seen him from like, from the time when he was very young, and we were of the impression of how do we design him, like Jeevan, right? Should we make him look like how sir looked when he was in his 20s or 23, because people have seen him at that age, right? Or the other thing is also that we have to make the character of Jeevan believable, right? We had to make him look a certain way to create that kind of because Gandhi is a very mature and like very polished and like very gentlemanly character, but Jeevan is the other extreme. He is wild, and and so the look also has to be that. And the backstory of Jeevan is also he's gone through a lot, and like he's gone through a certain kind of lifestyle. So obviously when coming from that, how does he look, right? So the character design was made based on that. And at some point when we released the first look with the song Spark song release பண்ணும்போது, the design was a little bit more thinner, the face was a little bit more thinner, and stuff like it was more and the audience obviously did not enjoy it so much. There was a lot of / feedback, I would say. So on the feedback we took it, and thankfully we had a good 1 month time to fix this. So we went with a half like present what Vijay sir was and what we did in the song, and the midway we chose 50%. So that's how the current look that was in the film. So it's almost like Vijay sir, but also not exactly not the other extreme also, where he doesn't look anything like him. So I think this kind of worked also because his expressions were more him. Whereas when the other extreme, maybe the expressions would have changed completely. So I think that's where the character becomes very believable, and I think that's why feedback is very important. Constructive feedback, like understanding what other people are thinking, like that I think that really helps. And this at this point, I think that really helped us to fix the look, fix the character design for Jeevan's character very well. So yeah.
Yes sir. And coming to the three different looks of Vijay sir, obviously you told like அந்த particular songல இருக்கிற அந்த image, it was trolled and everything was fixed. I can understand. பட் த்ரூ அவுட்டாகவே காஸ்டியூம்ஸ்லேருந்து நாட் ஓன்லி இன் கேமரா அவரோட லுக்கே வந்து இந்த விஜய் இப்போ இருக்கிற கரண்ட் விஜய் சார் அதை ப்ளே பண்ணுறதுக்கு ஹீ இஸ் கேப்பபிள் ஆஃப் டூயிங் தட் in his own body language.
Yes.
பட் அந்த சின்ன கேரக்டர் ஐ மீன் மோகன் சாரோட வளர்ற அந்த கேரக்டர் வந்து இட் இஸ் ஆப்வியஸ்லி வெரி டிஃபிகல்ட் டு ப்ளே வித் விஜய் சார். அவரை வந்து அங்க ப்ளே பண்ண முடியாது. வேற
probably also because he's taller, right?
Yeah, taller.
அப்ப வந்து he's more
பண்ணவே முடியாது. சோ அந்த கேரக்டர் எப்படி சார் ஸ்கெட்ச் பண்ணீங்க?
So அது வந்து one of the boys who kind of had like a facial features which is close to what's kind of looked like at that age, and we kind of made 50% of that.
Okay.
So that is again a mix of this, the boy who played the character and Vijay sir's look was merged.
எவ்வளவு பண்ண முடியுமோ
without making it more weird. Also the thing is we kind of also made it more it's a new technology, right? It's deepfake AI. It's using the technology of AI for this, and to make it believable we also used post production like color grading la vanda we used techniques like bleach bypass and solid, and then we also made it a little desaturated so that the softness of the plasticity of AI is reduced. So AI we used color grading also to make it as real as possible.
ஓகே சார். எதனால அந்த இடத்த நான் கேட்குறேன்னா இது வந்து இட் இஸ் ஃபிக்ஸ்டு. நீங்கள் இந்த பேசின மக்களுடைய கமெண்ட்ஸை எடுத்துக்கிட்டு யூ ஃபிக்ஸ்டு திஸ், பட் அதில் ஐ வாஸ் லிட்டில் ஓகே இன்னும் பெட்டராக பண்ணியிருக்கலாமோ அப்படின்னு ஒரு சின்ன ஒரு இது இருந்தது. பட் அட் தி சேம் டைம் அதுக்கு பின்னாடி இருக்கிற பட்ஜெட்டிங் அது எல்லாமே
we have our own time constraint also is anything.
I can understand. ரொம்ப மினிமல் போர்ஷன் தான். ஸோ அதுக்கு ஸ்பெண்ட் பண்ணுறதை இதுக்கு ஸ்பெண்ட் பண்ணலாம் அப்படின்னு யூ மைட் ஹவ் தாட்.
And there was a lot of iteration which went like initially it was a much more tighter frame. Then we realized that okay maybe this might not work, so we kept a wider close and the madri, so we had to do, and also we had to work on color grading to make it as real as possible. See, that's what pushing the gamut is very important. Pushing the limits, like okay if this is the boundary, I think for the next film we have to push the boundary a little bit more. So there's a new thing, so maybe in the next film we can try a full-fledged character. We don't know, right?
This is the start of
exactly because if you think of it, when Mad Max, the recent Mad Max came, Charlize Theron actually played her Furiosa in the first previous part, right? And then Furiosa oda younger age vandu what is current one, the new one, right? And then the director initially thought let's use Charlize Theron and de-age her.
Okay.
For the for Furiosa's younger role, but even he didn't take it up. He realized that it's not a great idea because it's a very young technology, because face one day it's a very complex thing. It's not easy to replicate, right? So they obviously had chosen a different actor. Anya Taylor-Joy played Furiosa. So Charlize Theron did say that I was quite upset because I wanted to play that role, but then technology also has its own limitations, right?
Definitely.
Obviously it should also be relatable, but we tried to push it and like do something with it, but maybe the next film will make it will master it.
Definitely sir. And one of the very big step that you have taken in this film is the first 5 minutes la Vijaykanth sir oda
again that character
adu
Vijaykanth sir
placing that sequence in the very start of the film. Audience enna solluvaanga அப்படின்றது அது secondary. It has a justification. அதுல ஏதோ இருக்கே, ஏதோ ஒரு தப்பா இருக்கே அப்படின்ற மாதிரி தெரிஞ்சா கூட the content
that's
reveals.
the thing, it's the beauty of it is that when you try, I feel people appreciate it. If you don't, instead of not trying it, if you try it and fail also, it's okay.
So, but that's a smart thing. Playing with the de-aging technology and placing it into the content.
Yes.
அதை ரிமூவ் பண்ற மாதிரி ஒரு கண்டென்ட் குள்ள.
So that way I have to really appreciate VP sir for pushing the limits. To think that hey, we should do this. We could have easily not done it, right? But to do it and say that and stick to it and make it happen, I think that requires a lot of conviction. And I think sir had that, and we kind of once you have that someone to say that no, we have to do this, we do this, we also charged up. to like,
Okay.
you know, execute it.
Okay.
What's the fun if you don't do it?
There has to be some reference for
Yeah,
the
yeah.
coming generations.
Absolutely,
இல்லையா?
absolutely.
So அது it was there throughout the films.
Right.
And you came from Mindscreen Film Institute. You studied there. Rajiv Menon sir இன்ஸ்டியூட்ல அங்க சினிமாட்டோகிராஃபி லேர்னிங்கான ஸ்பேஸ் எப்படி சார் இருந்தது உங்களுக்கு?
Absolutely. We were the third batch, in fact.
Okay.
This is the 6-month course in cinematography. So I didn't know anything about cinematography or photography. I never planned to be a, you know, cinematographer, actually. I just got into it. I just realized that, oh, there is a filmmaking course. I'm an engineer, so maybe it'll help me in my journey. And so later I joined.
என்ன இன்ஜினியரிங் படிச்சீங்க?
I did my electrical engineering.
Electrical
Yeah.
engineering. So அங்கேருந்து randomly you got
Yeah, I just saw this. I saw that, okay, there's a film school where they're teaching cinematography.
Okay.
It's a 6-month course.
Okay.
Let me join this and, you know, see. That way it's an acquired skill. I'll have the skill set. I'll have the understanding of what cinematography is.
Okay.
So that's how I joined it. And by God's grace, I mean, I think God kind of like gotten me into this path eventually. Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't know that I was good at it or anything really. That's the truth. Yeah.
ஓகே சார், அது உங்களுடைய பெருந்தன்மை. ஸோ இப்போ நீங்கள் மைண்ட் ஸ்க்ரீன் அப்புறம் வந்து மாஸ்டர்ஸ் வேறு என்னென்ன சார் வந்து அகாடமிக்ஸாக வேறு என்னென்ன
See,
பண்ணியிருக்கீங்க?
one thing I have to talk about is that a lot of people think that cinematography is an art, but it's more a craft.
கிராஃப்ட்.
It is a craft which needs to be learned.
ஓகே.
இது வந்து on the field learning is one thing, but I believe that coming from an academic background, I personally believe that film needs to be studied first.
Yeah.
Because it's a science.
Study is also important.
Yes,
Yeah.
because it's a science. Whether you're a, especially cinematography, or if you take screenwriting also, for instance, right? It's a science. It's something that has been 2,000 years under the 3-act structure. You know, or there is a way.
Yeah.
You know, we have to learn the history, and when we learn the history, when we learn the technology, I think we can make better films. Because organization is important. It's still a discipline. It is still like, for example, a musician learns music from the time when he or she is 5 years old, or like a singer does riyaz every day, like practices every day. In the same way, cinematography or anything, writing, everything has to be learned first. And I do believe in it. And if somebody comes to me and says, wants to assist me, I would say that go study first. Learn the craft, learn the technology of, because right now, especially right now, cinematography has become a very technical job.
Yes.
Because cameras have become very digital, right? So filmmaking has also become easy, but also become difficult at the same time.
Okay.
So because, for example, you can keep a camera and take a shot, but what is a cinematographer? A cinematographer is somebody who's telling a story through the camera.
Okay.
So the camera is just the tool, right? But you need to study the psychology behind it, the color theory behind it. Like Vittorio Storaro, who is one of my favorite cinematographers, talks about color in a very important way. For example, Steven Spielberg film Schindler's List. There is one. The whole film is black and white. Why black and white? Color theory, right? If you, it's a world which is devoid of color. Color brings life. Color brings joy. A world which is devoid of color it's black and white, because black represents maybe like, you know, it represents something, right? The whole film is in the shades of grey. But one sequence is there where the child is in the red and she's running through the whole ghetto is being attacked, and like, you know, people are being taken away, and then one child is running through hiding, and one little girl, and she goes and hides under a bed. But she is the only one who has color. She is wearing red.
Okay.
And red signifies danger, red signifies life, right? So color theory is very important. To understand, green represents life, yellow represents joy, orange represents knowledge. So the colors that you use in your frame convey something to our mind, because our mind perceives color in a certain way. So in the education, like how do you learn all these things? It's great if it will be perfect if you have sit down and learn all of this. You can learn on like, you know, you're reading YouTube, reading Wikipedia, or like, you know, articles online. But I think that academic pursuit is very important, because it's a throughout lifelong journey. Idu vandu every day you have to learn something new. So adu vandu I think it's very important for students of film to go learn the craft. Or 2 years, give it that time, where you learn the craft, learn the basics. Appo when you come to the real world, you can absorb very easily. Right? It's the law of compounding. When it starts, it's very slow, but suddenly when it starts, that's the law of compounding. That's how the world works, right? That's what they say. The life works on a law of compounding. So
எஸ் சார், ஐ அக்ரி வித் தட். அண்ட் வெந்து தணிந்தது காடு படத்தில் வந்து ஒரு சிங்கிள் ஷாட் ஒன்று ஃபாலோ பண்ணியிருப்பீங்க, அந்த கன்னை எடுத்துகிட்டு வர்றதுலேருந்து அந்த மாதிரி சீக்வன்ஸ்க்கெலாம் எப்படி சார் வந்து லைட்டிங் பண்ணுவீங்க ஒரு லென்த்தி ஷாட்டுக்கு? இப்போது யூஸ்வலாக வந்து நம்ம இண்டஸ்ட்ரியில் தமிழில் வந்து ஒரு நாளைக்கு 5 சீன் எடுக்கிற ஒரு ஸ்பீடு, அந்த ஸ்பீடு தேவைப்படுது அப்படின்னு ஒன்று இருக்குது சினிமாட்டோகிராஃபி பொறுத்த வரைக்கும். ஸோ இந்த மாதிரி when it comes to டைம் மேனேஜ்மெண்ட், இந்த மாதிரி லென்த்தி ஷார்ட்ஸ்லாம் எப்படி சார் பிளான் பண்ணுவீங்க? எப்படி ஹவ் யூ யூஸ் டு லைட்டிங்லாம் முடிச்சுட்டு யூ ஸ்டார்ட் ஷூட்டிங்கா அந்த மாதிரியா எப்படி சார்?
So first it starts with the director. Like especially for this sequence or Malipu song also, Gautam sir was like, we're doing it single take. And me and Lee, the stunt choreographer, like, yeah, okay. I'm like, so you need a visionary, honestly. That is the truth. You need a visionary who says that, I want this. Then we'll figure it out. We can figure things out, right? And then like if something is not working, we can make something else. So how it was a single take shot, right? And then like we were like, okay, the camera goes out of the window. Now how do we get the camera out of the window? Are we putting it on a pulley system? Are we like, I don't know, we don't know. So finally Rajivan sir came and said, no, I'll put a ramp.
Okay.
Right? So I was standing outside the window on a goda or a ramp madri we created from this end of the window to the other end where the door is, right?
Okay.
So Lee started from ground floor and the fight begins, and so much of rehearsal has happened because he's a stunt choreographer but he's also a camera operator. So he comes all the way up and hands the camera over to me, and then he hides, right? And then I take it out and then follow the action there, and then in the meanwhile he is following from behind out of frame, and then comes and sits in the keela, and then I just put the camera in, he takes it and moves inside. So this is it's like a dance, honestly.
Yeah.
It's choreography, and it's like I think it was very fun. I was quite nervous, obviously, because none of this has been done before. And lighting mandu, I like to keep it stylized but also real. I like to strike a balance between the two. I want it to be real because I want the audience to connect to what is going on there. But at the same time, I want it to be a little, glamorous and stylized.
Okay.
So we use certain kind of certain kind of color temperature, certain kind of whether it's a soft light or a hard light. These decisions are made based on, because if it's a hard light, shadows stronger. So if the camera is moving, the subject or the camera, camera shadow it will fall on the subject. In fact, there's one scene in the beginning of the film where Muthu comes first and then he's sitting with Muthu first enters the parota kade.
Okay.
He comes Appukutti sir, yeah. Basically he enters the parota kade, and then he comes and sits in his place, and Appukutti sir comes and he's like and he's explaining about the whole who are these people, what are the rules of this place and all of that. In that, the camera has to come, for example, if I'm Simbu sir and Appukutti sir is here, the camera has to go from behind and come this way. But light is from behind.
Okay.
Right? Because windows are here. So what we did was we made one of the characters cross the camera while we are crossing Simbu sir.
Okay.
So the audience perceives that the shadow of that person is falling.
Coming here is. Okay.
So you have to improvise these things. So it's a dance. It's a dance, honestly.
Yeah. That needs to be there. There should be some sensible thinking. And
so that's what kind of light sources do you want to use? What works? What doesn't work? Idella you have to consider. Yeah. So for that particular size, I've used top light a lot, so that it's evenly illuminated. And there is also, everything was coming from the top. The lighting was coming from the top, so that the shadow of the camera, nobody is falling on any other person. The camera or the shadow is not falling on the subject. Yeah.
ஃபைன் சார். நான் ஏன் மறுபடியும் இந்த விஷயத்துக்குள்ளே இருக்கேன்னா, இப்போது இந்த மாதிரி ஒரு பெரிய ப்ரொடக்ஷனில் ஏஜிஎஸ் ப்ரொடக்ஷனில் கோட் பண்ணுறப்ப ஹவு மச் டைம் யூ வில் டேக் டு ஷூட் அ சீன், ஒரு நாளைக்கு இவ்வளோ ஷூட் பண்ணிடணும் அப்படின்னு யூ வில் ஹேவ் சம் ஐடியா ஆர் அந்த ஃப்ளோவில் போவீங்களா? ஏன்னா சின்ன பட்ஜெட் படங்களுக்கு there is a limitation. You need to complete the shoot within some 25 days, 30 days, அந்த மாதிரி ஒரு விஷயம் இருக்கும்ல. ஸோ when you're handling multiple artists, multi-starrer movies, அங்கே எப்படி சார் இருக்கும் இந்த விஷயம்?
For GOAT, majority of the days were on stunts actually. A lot of stunts were shot, like the climax sequence for 15 days. Train sequence was like shot over a period, but they took a lot of time. The scenes were but I think working with VP sir is very easy. It's like he kind of understands the scene, and we had shot quite a bit per day, but it's the same scene.
Okay.
So that you get more freedom for the edit pattern. We could use, if something is not working, you can take it out.
Okay.
And all of that stuff. And I didn't find it very hard, honestly.
Okay. So mostly it will be one scene per day, kind of.
Maybe two, three scenes could have shoot panno.
Okay.
But the thing about GOAT is that I didn't shoot in one location. I wouldn't have shot more than 3 days.
Okay.
3 to 4 days. I would have shot it maximum 4 days or location. So turnaround was very quick.
Yeah.
So it was small shots, but more shots in a day.
More shots. ஏன்னா ஆமா.
More intercuts, if you remember.
Double action அப்படிங்க வரும்போது.
Yeah, double action, and also it's a film which is happening in multiple places at the same time.
Yeah.
So a lot of intercuts were there. So yeah, maybe I wouldn't have shot long sequences, but ஒரு shot in one location அந்த மாதிரி ஒரு sequenceல ஒரு shot, 2 shots. You understand what I'm saying? Like that.
I'll put it in a different way. Which is the film that took very less timing for you to complete the entire shoot till now?
I think software hardware we shot in like 25 days or 30 days.
Okay. I just wanted to get the clarity of how handling the shoot days and call sheets with the budget and everything. So people.
So because I come from like an independent film background, I'm more flexible. I'm like I don't spend too much time lighting or once the lighting is done, we kind of like go with it.
Thank you sir. நிறைய விஷயங்கள் ஷேர் பண்ணிருக்கீங்க, நிறைய nuances ஷேர் பண்ணிருக்கீங்க.
Thank you. I enjoyed it.
It will be a very good learning experience for all the cinephiles for watching this video.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Very kind. Thank you.
GRT शुभ आरंभम GRT Jewelers.
ஏஜிஎஸ் என்டர்டெயின்மெண்ட் கல்பாத்திய சகோரம் தயாரிப்பில் வெங்கட் பிரபு இயக்கத்தில் தளபதி விஜய் நடிப்பில் கோட் செப்டம்பர் 5 முதல் உங்கள் திரையரங்குகளில்.